And with that, your 2025 national champions, baby, the Florida Gators, bro. How do we do it? We led for 1 minute and 4 seconds and won the damn national title, Graham. It doesn't
I
feel real.
said it's great to be a Florida Gators. That is great to be
To be
a Florida
Florida
Gators. That
Gators.
is great to be a Florida Gators. That is great to be a Florida Gator. Come on, man. Come on, man. National champs, Dylan. National champs, bro. Banners fly forever. Dylan, talk to me. Listen. Let this sink in your head, okay? It hasn't even sunk in my head yet, but I'm going to try to make it sink in yours. 25 years from now, when we go visit the O-Dome, you're going to look up and you're going to see a banner from this basketball season that's going to say 2025 National Champions, baby. National Champions, man! Come on! Come on, bro! This is unreal! What? They just won the title, Dylan. The title. They didn't make a Final Four. They didn't win a Final Four game. They won the national championship. There's not a basketball team in America in college that's better than the Florida Gators, Dylan. Can you believe that?
Can't believe they won every game the same way in the tournament. Playing horrible in the first half, being within a basket at the halftime, and then somehow every time.
And then they just go crazy.
You're down 9.
It's like 10, 15 minutes left. It's like, oh, we got to turn on now? All right, let's turn up. Let's go crazy.
Oh, my gosh, man. I did not think Florida was going to win the Texas Tech game. I felt they were going to beat Auburn. I did not feel like Florida was going to win this game somehow. Like, Florida was going to come back in it, but you're just like, dude, Houston's playing too good. Houston's just playing too good. Walter Clayton didn't get a damn field goal until what? Like 7 minutes left in the game on an and one. And they still won.
He almost snapped his streak of hitting 3-pointers. That's like 60-plus games or something insane. Wow.
And Florida had 2
sacks. I can't feel my legs. I'm so happy. I can't feel my body. Like, I don't even know how I'm able to form like coherent sentences right now. I'm so happy. Like, this is the most unbelievable shit. What? How did this just happen, dude?
Man. Will Richard is the reason.
We gotta talk about him.
Will Richard, dude.
I know Walter Clayton was MVP because he should be, because it's for the whole tournament. And without Walter Clayton, they're not here. Without Walter Clayton, he's obviously the best player. This game, specifically, like this specific game, Will Richard was the MVP. Because if Will Richard doesn't have the first half he does, Florida's getting blown out by halftime. And look, they could probably come back because they come back from everything. But instead of being down 3, Florida's down 12 or 15 at halftime without Will Richard going crazy in the first half. And in the second half, stupid fouls that a lot of them weren't his fault. They're bad whistles kept him out for a lot of the half. If those bad fouls didn't keep him out, I think Florida might have won by 5 or 10 points because he was playing better than anybody on the floor. That turnover that he forced on Emmanuel Sharp.
That was the game.
Yes, you're correct. That was the game. And wait, Clinton's bringing up. You was backing on Will Richard all year long, Graham. Yes, you're right, Clinton. But granted, I've said my apologies to Will Richard already, but I'll give him another one because he's earned it. I have killed Will Richard for multiple years now that I feel like in big games he doesn't show up. Words eaten, me wrong. This is an idiot. This is a dumbass right here. Will Richard, thank you for your services, because without you, we're not national champions right now. Unbelievable game, Will Richard. That's one of those things, Dylan, like when, and again, like when we're talking about like looking at this game, looking at this season 20 years from now, we're going to talk about that turnover. We're going to talk about that play. Because without that, like, look, who knows what happens in the last, 30 seconds to a minute without that. I think Florida still would have a decent chance to win. But you got the sense that Houston in the last minute or so offensively was playing well in their sets and like they knew they could maybe do something. And then when that turnover happened, you could tell mentally they were shot, especially Emmanuel Sharp, because he's the one that turned the ball over. I mean, look, what the hell was he doing on that last shot, man?
Well, Clayton was going to have that block, and then he was like, I'm just going to accept defeat here, but you got to find a way to put that shot up, man. I'm sorry.
If it gets blocked, it gets blocked, but you're going to let go of the ball and just leave it there? Like, what? Yeah, doesn't matter to me. But, horrible. I mean, look, Dylan, we got to talk. Look, we can talk about the game in the future. We have time today to talk about the game. We have time, but really quickly, I want to talk about this from 10,000 feet, man. And you and I talked about this when we signed off on Baloo's show earlier, and we were kind of talking about it afterwards. Now that this is like completely, like the final bow is put on this season with as good of a bow as you can put on it to end it. Where does this individual season rank between football and basketball? Most fun seasons you've ever had watching a Gator sports team?
Top 3, not even without hesitation.
I would probably agree. I think you go because you and I, like some people listening, apologies. I know you guys were there. I'm sure the 96 Gator football team is there. Dylan and I weren't really there to enjoy that live. But for us, at least, I think you got to say 08 football, maybe one of the basketball teams, or 06 football, and then this season in basketball.
This year for me, this basketball team, this is the most fun I felt like I've had as a Gator fan.
Dude, I might agree, because when they were winning the titles, you and I were like elementary schoolers, and I don't know if because look, between football and basketball, like they had such a struggle for so long. I know Billy Donovan was really good even when he wasn't winning the titles afterwards, but you talk about, the Mike White years where he had the Elite Eight run, but besides that, a lot of disappointing finishes, and basically not a whole lot to show for except that one Elite Eight appearance ever since the 2014 Final Four team. And then obviously football, it's been very well documented, the football struggles. This Natty we appreciate so much more, right? You agree there? Like we know when I was a kid, Dylan, like, and I think people that are listening that might be closer to our age can appreciate this, and maybe some of you that are older that might have kids that are closer to our age can kind of understand where Dylan and I are probably coming from. But Dylan, I don't want to speak for you, but I'll speak for myself, and you can tell me if you agree. When I was in elementary school and they were winning titles, like, I thought that was just kind of normal. I thought that was just what we did. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that you could have a 10-year drought where you don't win anything. You know what I mean? I didn't know you could just suck for forever.
Dude, I remember when Florida was winning, when they won that second title in 2008 for football, and you just watched them beat Ohio State.
Yeah.
My dad was like, "It's fun now, but eventually they'll hit rock bottom." And then when Florida lost in football to Georgia Southern, not long after, my dad was like, "All right, you've seen rock bottom." Yeah. So I mean, but I would rank the 08 football game, the football season, 1, but this is right behind it, man.
I think it might be too. And look, we have to have another conversation, Dylan. And today, honestly, I know they just won the title, but today is not the best day to have the conversation because he didn't have his best game. Walter Clayton Jr. is on the Florida sports Mount Rushmore.
Yeah,
he is. And look, if people might disagree in the chat. I'm not sure how this is going to be received. We've kind of talked about it some. Gus, shout out Gus. Gator boys stay hot. That's right, Gus. Gus, you got to cover college sports now. That's the rule. Gus, enough of these mock drafts. Enough of Tet McMillan. Enough of Mason Graham. I need Gus's opinions on Walter Clayton Jr., Elijah Martin, and Will Richard tomorrow. I need it on Duval Rundown. Anyways, is Walter Clayton Jr. the best Florida basketball player to ever put on the uniform?
For basketball or just all sports in general?
Basketball. No, not all sports.
I think he is, man. I mean, you can't have the thing is everybody's gonna look to Joe Kim because of the NBA talent he was, and he was gonna be the number one pick, and he came back for next year. But dude, I was thinking about this before the game. Like, we all knew going into this tournament, if Florida wants to go 6-0, that it's going to be on the shoulders of Walter Clayton Jr. And you can't take anything away from that team that won back-to-back, but there was no dominant dude because there were so many good guys on that team, you could spread the wealth.
Yeah.
I mean, Walter Clayton Jr. scored 30 points in back-to-back games in the Elite Eight and the Final Four when games they had to have. And that hadn't happened since before a lot of us in this chat were born.
Yeah.
Larry Bird was hooping.
Dude, like Larry Bird. like the Larry Bird that played for the Celtics. Like the Larry Bird that saved the NBA with Magic Johnson when the finals were on tape delay.
Yeah.
Like the next guy to do something in college basketball after Larry Bird is Walter Clayton Jr. What? Look, again, I wasn't able to watch Vernon Maxwell really when he was playing for the Gators. I was able to watch the Joe Kim Noah days, the Corey Brewer days, all that. And I love those teams. Those are the two best teams that Gator basketball's ever seen. I think Walter Clayton Jr. is the best Gator player to ever put on the uniform, man. He brought it home with a natty.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was Part of My Take, something you listen to a lot of with Barstool.
I love Part of My Take.
Were they the ones that had the conversation of your team going on a run in the tournament is one of the best fan experiences? Was that them or was that another pod? Okay.
No, that was them. Yeah, and they're right.
Yeah, it is 100%. Like, granted, we have not experienced a run yet. I mean, hopefully we do with DJ Lagway, and we go on a run in the playoffs, in this 12. Hopefully, it might be 14 by the time he gets there in 2 years when he's a junior, possibly. But, dude, the NCAA tournament, man, I mean, it's like when you're a 1 seed like Florida was, you're like, okay, the first weekend, you can get by, usually. And it didn't happen. You had the UConn game. That was tough. But, like, you go into the weekend, you're like, okay, we got a good game. Now we got to come back and play another day. 2 days later, come back and play another game 2 days later. And then do it again the following weekend. Like, there's very few things in fandom that match this. Because football, it's like all your energy goes to one day. Yeah. And then you have, like, 6 days to talk about it. It's not one like this. Like, dude, we were just celebrating Auburn 48 hours ago and how great that was. And then quick turnaround. Now we're playing another one, and we've won it all.
Well, and there are like instant classic games in football, obviously, especially when you get to like the college football playoff level. But most of the time, the team that's just biggest, fastest, strongest at the end of the day and has the best quarterback at the end of the day typically ends up winning, or at least they're in the top 2, 3, 4 final teams. In basketball, man, any team, even if you're bigger, faster, stronger, more talented, all the above, you can lose to anybody on any given day in hoops. So you just can't, like, typically you hope that you show up and you play really well and you shut the door on teams that you're better than, but it doesn't always work out that way, man. Florida's better than Texas Tech, but Texas Tech should have won that game.
Yeah, 100%.
And but you have Walter Clayton Jr. and Thomas Howell just figure out a way. I mean, in UConn, I mean, you could argue UConn should have won that game, but Walter Clayton Jr. at the end was just like, I'm not letting us lose. I'm not doing it. And against Auburn, late in that game, well, Walter Clayton Jr. is like, no, Auburn's going home. I'm sending them home. I don't care. They're losing. And it was just that simple. And I mean, I think Lynn Rice, you were in elementary school and you have won the Natty in 06 and 07. You grew well. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. So, yeah, I honestly think I think I agree with the statement that, like, this is, I think, the most fun I personally have probably ever had watching a Gator team from start to finish, because it's the most understanding I've ever had of how hard it is to get to this moment.
Yeah.
And the most understanding of how hard it is to get a team that's this good. And not just a team that's this good, Dylan. Something else we need to talk about. How together this team plays. to see in this world, like in this world of college sports where everybody complains about the transfer portal, everybody complains about the NIL, and players, players wilt at the first sign of adversity, and players always want to transfer and go find the next thing, and every player wants to be the man. Nobody wants to be a role player and be part of a team. None of that was true about this basketball team. None of it. Walter Clayton tonight, Walter Clayton didn't have his best stuff like he normally does. Will Richard, I got you, bro. I'm picking up the slack.
Thomas Howell was another one too.
Yes, and guess what? Walter Clayton is seeing that throughout the game, and his teammates that are playing, he's feeding them. He had, I think, 8 assists tonight.
Yeah, I know he had 7 at one point.
Like, and I think something else that is interesting too, Dylan, that we haven't gotten to bring up in the podcast yet. That picture I know you saw, or we may have talked about, but I want to talk about it again. Who cares? That picture where Elijah Martin had the dunk in the Final Four game, that great picture that everybody knows what I'm talking about. It looks like a Jordan picture. Like, it looks insane. It's like that wide landscape shot of Martin jumping for basically the free throw line to hit that dunk against Auburn on the turnover. You look at the bench, okay, and you look at the guys. You can see them jumping for joy. You can see Micah Handlockton jumping for joy, and Micah came back. Great story. We love the Micah story. To kind of bring home the point I'm trying to make here about how together this team was, Urban Klavzar is right next to him. Okay? He's right next to Micah Handlockton in that shot. You can see him on it. Urban Klavzar is the guy that basically got benched after the Texas Tech game because he did not play well in that game, and he was a liability, had a couple of turnovers, didn't do a whole lot. I think he's going to be a good player. We'll see until next year. But for this run, we couldn't keep playing him, right? He didn't get to play 1 minute in the Final Four, right? He got benched. That dude was jumping higher than anybody, celebrating Elijah Martin hitting that dunk in a big moment. A guy that was literally told, I can't rely on you right now, in today's world, could not have been happier for his teammate and his team. What Todd Golden's been able to capture, not just on the court, not just the talent, but in that locker room and that chemistry, that's special stuff, man.
Yeah, by far. I mean, this was a selfless team. I mean,
completely selfless.
Everything that you hit on. I mean, Walter Clayton had 0 points at the half. Didn't get his first couple points until he got his first pair of free throws. Another person too, Alex Condon. I mean, he had his fair share of. I mean, look, I didn't check Twitter. I don't go on Facebook during the game because I try to have all my thoughts the way I want, and I just look so people don't think I'm lying, so we can keep our receipts. I keep notes of what's going on during the game so I can remember what it was like in that exact moment. I'm sure, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, everybody wanted Alex Condon out of the game.
Yeah.
Especially after that second travel. And, dude, something that we can talk about for a long time, for the next at least couple weeks. Dude, Todd Golden, it seemed like any decision that he needed to make that was hard, he made look easy, man. When it was Handlockton, do you want to be redshirted? No,
Absolutely.
I'm going to be redshirted. No, I'm not going to start playing because Alex Condon gets hurt. Okay, how's the rotation going to be? It don't matter. Walter Clayton gets hurt, and then he comes back. It's fine. We're sitting with a sprained ankle. Dude, sit out a week or two, get ready for the tournament. Nope, just sit out one game, and we're good. You saw so many times the Texas Tech game, the Auburn game. Big men are killing you. Double team down low. Never happened. You saw with Houston today. Houston had 2 guys get in foul trouble with about 8 to 10 minutes left, and Houston only had 1 timeout. And I figured at some point that was going to come back and bite them. And you saw slowly but surely it kept ticking away and ticking away and ticking away. And Todd Golden just kept hitting. He just kept striking gold, man, every time, all year. It didn't matter.
Well, think about maybe the biggest one all year that he made, not necessarily with like bigger decisions, kind of like you're talking about, but in game was the decisions, the 2 fouls on Texas Tech in that Elite Eight game in the 1-and-1. because Todd is pretty dialed in on analytics. He kind of knows what he's doing in that regard, but he's good at that feel, right? Like using the analytics to your advantage, but not relying on them too much as a crutch. If Todd Golden doesn't decide, because the numbers are telling you it makes more sense to go ahead and foul now, if he doesn't have those 2 fouls against Texas Tech, we're not watching Florida in the Final Four at all. To your point, that's just and that's a more in-game, like technical decision than some of the things you're talking about. But it's still one of those things where it's like, if he's wrong here, we're calling him the biggest idiot on planet Earth. You know what I'm saying? But he's right. And they just won the national title. And I think, to take your point about decision-making and make it even bigger, Dylan, the way he's constructed this roster, because that's just one, the roster is one representation of a bunch of decisions like that he's made, right? How do I put this team together? How do I make it? How do I, last year, elite offensive team, horrendous defensive team, and it cost him in the first round of the tournament. Okay. Zion Poland's a senior. He goes off to the NBA/G League. I got Walter Clayton. I know he's going to be my guy, but I need another guard here that's going to play some defense. I need some on-ball perimeter defense now. Go and get Elijah Martin. Not only am I getting great defense, not only am I getting a guy with some edge and some dog, I'm getting a guy that's been to a Final Four before. And look, Dylan, you can attest this. We've talked about this on the show before. There were multiple moments in this tournament where it was very clear who the guy that has been to a Final Four before was. Mm-hmm. Very clear. There were a lot of times where the other players on the floor looked a little sheepish, maybe didn't want to make decisions, were kind of playing hot potato with the ball, didn't want to take the shot. And Martin's like, all right, I'll just go dunk on 2 people. I'll just go stand 1. I'll just go pull up a 3 in somebody's face.
Yeah, and he tried to do a dunk today. It didn't. He almost put the man on a poster. But
it would have been cool, but that's the mentality I want. I don't care to get rejected by the rim. That's early in the game. You're trying to make a statement. Give it to me. Give me the attitude. Give me the heart. Don't give me sheepishness in a national title game, bro. And the decision, Todd talked about. He's talked about it multiple times. And again, back to your decision making. Thomas Houck was not some highly rated recruit. Duke wasn't beating down the door for Thomas Houck. Carolina wasn't beating down the door for Thomas Houck. Kansas wasn't calling him. Alex Condon. Was UConn hitting Alex Condon's line? No. Walter Clayton is from Iona. Yeah. Iona, like, Martin at FAU, because obviously he went to FAU first. But I think in the portal, he was obviously pretty highly desired. So that was a nice get. But Will Richard out of Belmont. Did you know who the hell Will Richard was before he came to Florida? No idea. He just made the play to win the Gators their 3rd title ever. But it's just to your point of like these decisions. You're absolutely right. It's like his last name is appropriate because he seems to strike gold with every big decision he's got to make like that.
Yeah, I'm just looking through this box score. Through the team stats, just like that Auburn game, it was about even. Both teams, see, free throws. Houston was 64%, 9 for 14. That was one thing that surprised me. I mentioned it when we were on with Baloo earlier. When Houston played Duke, Houston, for as physical as they are defensively, they did not foul Duke. Duke was never in the bonus.
By the way, go ahead. I won't cut you off. Go ahead.
And so Florida, something ridiculous. They had like 5 fouls in the first 4 minutes in the second half or something like that.
Yeah. And
then Houston's in the bonus quick. And then Houston has 3 fouls in 9 seconds.
3 fouls in 9 seconds. Dylan, listen, I'm sorry. No one's committing 3 fouls in 9 seconds.
No.
If 3 fouls in 9 seconds on the same team get called, I'm sorry. The refs are fixating on something to call fouls.
That's something called a hack-a-shack.
And that's between Houston and Florida, I don't really think either team necessarily got calls tilted either way, but it was just not consistent. In the first half, officials called basically nothing.
Yes.
And they're letting the guys play, which is advantage Houston, but because Houston's a very tough physical basketball team. But, you know, in a championship game, like you want the refs to swallow their whistles. You don't want you do not want a championship game to be a ref show. And then coming out of the halftime locker room, the first like 5 to 10 minutes of the second half, it becomes a ref show. And the refs that had swallowed their whistles all first half and gotten everyone on the court used to play in a certain way, they're now like, actually, we're going to call everything under the sun. And it's like, that doesn't seem very consistent.
No.
And then they kind of neutralized it and were a little more, they just acted like normal refs in the last like 10 minutes. But that was just odd. I don't want to spend a lot of time complaining about refs, but it was weird. It was like, what is this kind of weird, clunky 10 minutes that's turned into a ref show? That was strange.
And one thing I will say, like as a coach, the one thing you just want is consistency, because you make your plan and you tell your guys how you want to play based on the officiating. So if you're going to be a physical team and the refs are going to allow it, well, hell, be more physical.
Yeah,
they're not going to call it.
Right.
And then you get in the second half and it's like, okay, now we have to change. I didn't feel like it affected Florida, luckily. But yeah, I didn't really care for that.
No, I wasn't a fan. But nonetheless, the Florida Gators are national champions, Dylan.
I can't believe they did not get a shot at, man.
When the orange and blue confetti was falling down and Todd and the boys were holding the trophy, it didn't feel like real life, man. How is this happening? This is amazing. This is amazing.
Do they have a parade?
They're celebrating. They're getting back to Gainesville tomorrow, and they're doing something at Flavitt Field, like 1:30. I don't know if that's a parade or just like a welcome back. I'm not totally sure what the whole deal is, but
I remember back in our day, 20 years ago, they would have like the basketball team. Remember that they broke the trophy. Was it Joakim Noah? I think when he like handed the basketball over and like nobody was there and it shattered.
Well, wasn't that? I thought it was a prank that they played.
Yeah, that was a joke. But I remember that being in the O-Dome. As hell, man. If that was on a Saturday, I might slide, but I ain't gonna make it during the week, dog. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. Dylan, can I do something real quick? Impromptu.
Yeah.
So give a cheer for the orange and blue, waving forever, forever pride of old Florida. May she droop never. So sing a song for the flag today. Cheer for the team at play. On to the goal, we'll fight away for Florida.
Man.
We are the.
Believe,
no, I'm just kidding.
I'll say, I still don't believe they won. Like there was a
everybody in the chat, because Dylan and I, we can go on forever, but like people in the chat, we'll bring up good comments, whatever we want. Just tell us how happy you are. I know you've been doing that for forever, but like, let's just celebrate, bro. Like, Dylan and I have been doing this show since we've been doing the show for over a year now, and. You know, we've gone through the entire football and basketball season. It's been fun. It's been really fun. I know we both love doing it. Like the fact that in our first year doing a show, we get a national title out of the Florida Gator basketball team doesn't feel real.
No,
I know I've said that 100 times on a broken record. I'll probably say 100 more the rest of the show. But like, how?
Dude, we went from like we started this in about July on the 1010XL Gator channel.
Mm-hmm.
We went from what's Billy Napier going to do to fire Billy Napier week 3 to Billy Napier's kept his job to DJ Lagway's one of the best players in the country. Knocked out Ole Miss at the playoff. And then we've gotten into basketball. Knew the team was good. And now they went on this run.
You were like, yeah, we'll do basketball. And I was like, no. I made a promise to our viewers that I was going to make Dylan Denmark watch basketball. And God damn it, if you didn't watch basketball.
Oh, man, I'll watch good products, man. I can't watch that Mike White junk. I can't watch Mike White taking the air out of the ball every possession.
Yeah, Mike White's probably really enjoying this game from his house, right?
You seen did you see freezing cold takes? They
called out our boy Hack, man. Hacker and I think we're gonna do a special edition to Gator Bites tomorrow. I'm gonna call his ass out for that.
Oh my god.
He doesn't understand why him tweeting prematurely and then getting him in trouble. He doesn't understand why that's his fault. I've tried to explain it to him 100 times, but he's like, yeah, everybody comes after me after something changes and it's easy to. I'm like, yes, because you're the one that tweeted something prematurely.
I haven't seen his Twitter. I'm about to roll through his tweets. All right, this man, God bless. He tweeted like 100 times during the game. All right, let's see. I guess this is his halftime thoughts. Florida lucky to only be down 4. They're not making anything. Thankfully, Houston isn't either. Florida has only made 4 shots in 10 minutes. Not breaking any news here, but they're not going to win if this continues. If you would have told me 12 minutes into the game Walter Clayton would have not scored, I would have thought the Gators were in trouble. Surprised. Okay, I'm trying to get to the where he starts freaking out.
Our boy Curtis has a comment where I have to respectfully disagree. Our boy Curtis says Martin's the MVP of the Natty. He kept us alive in the first half. Curtis, love Elijah Martin, love what he's done. Respectfully disagree. Will Richard was the one that kept the Florida Gators in the game in the first half. Will Richard wasn't hitting those threes. I'm not sure this is a celebratory podcast right now. But that's it. So some with actual real game analysis for a second here. Something that was weird. Clayton, in the first couple minutes, he had that mentality, kind of like he had in the very first game of the tournament against Norfolk State, where he's like, "Yo, I'm just letting things fly, and like I'm that good, so like things are gonna go in." And look, he clearly can hit him, so I'm not gonna trip too hard about him taking logo shots and stuff. But teams have adjusted to him throughout the tournament, and one of the main things that teams have adjusted with is every time he wants to come off that ball screen, there's always a second defender coming up that's waiting for him. It's one of the reasons that Chinyelu and Condon have gotten so many wide open looks in the paint, because they take that pick, they just roll off, they're wide open in the paint because they got 2 defenders on Clayton. The other thing when that gets taken away that Clayton has been exceptionally good at, and it's part of the reason it's been killing teams, is not just his shooting. He is really good at splitting that double team because he's such a good athlete. He's so quick and he squares his shoulders really fast and can kind of split right through that. You split that double team, you leave those 2 guys in the dust. Now all of a sudden I'm attracting more help. I'm kicking out to Will Richard. I'm kicking out to Elijah Martin. I'm throwing up a lob to Thomas Houck or Condon or Chinyelu, or I'm just going and taking it to the rack myself. He didn't want to do that for some reason. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if maybe somebody that knows basketball better than me could tell me if Houston was adding a wrinkle to that was kind of changing that. But that whole first half, it felt like Clayton didn't want to drive to the hole. And the broadcast was talking about it's like he wants to shoot or pass, but he's not wanting to get. And in the second half, that play that he does, Dylan, that move he has, where he goes up with his right hand on the left side, and then when he's about to get bumped at the last second, he switches to his left and spins it off the glass. I mean, it is so gorgeous to watch, man.
Lethal. It is lethal, man. And I mean, dude, he hit that big 3 with about, 2 or 3 minutes left?
Yeah.
I mean, for a dude that didn't hit a shot practically the entire game, hit it when they needed it most, man. And
they needed that shot bad. Yeah.
And dude, it was like that all tournament, man.
It was pretty much the only truly open look he got all game. If he again, we're talking about a lot of ifs here. If he misses that, I'm not sure this is a celebratory podcast right now.
Dude, if I can't believe still that Houston tried to shoot a 3. I think it was Barkley and the boys talked about this right after. I mean, for as many offensive rebounds that Houston got, I want to look at how many they had exactly.
I thought certainly they were going to go down and try to get a quick 2 or at least get in some kind of good set for a nice 2. I agree. That was not a good decision by Kelvin Sampson. In my
Guess
opinion.
what the offensive rebounds were in this game?
Houston got a lot of them. Houston probably won that by a wide margin.
15-8.
Wow.
Florida ain't been out. So anyway, they were talking about it right after the game how it was surprising that they didn't try to go to the rack and get an offensive rebound because that's what they've done all game. And Charles Barkley had the line, "If you scared, go get a dog." I don't know if you saw that if you were getting your car or not. He's like, Kenny was like, he's like, "Dude, you got to go to the rack and get the offensive rebound." And he goes, no, you're trying to win the game. If you're scared, go get a dog. But I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, dude, you're going for the win. And it wasn't like, dude, Houston made 6 threes. It wasn't like they were making it rain. If they were hot from 3, it'd be one thing. But I still can't believe they did not get a shot off.
And also, too, it might have been because I don't know. It might have been because of Florida's defense, or I'm not sure. But look, Kelvin Sampson's a phenomenal coach. His decision, to just take a 3 to try to win the game in the end, like we just talked about, I don't agree with. But also, I'm not sure that ball in that moment needs to be in Emmanuel Sharp's hands. I think that ball needs to be in LJ Cryer's hands.
Yeah.
Why are you giving it? I know he's a great player for you. I know he's a good shooter. I understand that. Emmanuel Sharp's a really good player. It's no disrespect to him. But I'm not understanding why you're giving it to, A, not your best player, but B, a guy that just turned the ball over the possession before. Why was that the decision to make? I didn't agree with either of those. And you know, if decisions are made differently, who knows how the game ends, but both of those decisions were bad ones by Kelvin Sampson, in my opinion.
Yeah. LJ Cryer was the only person coming into this game that had national championship experience. He played for that Baylor team a couple of years ago.
Fresh, yeah.
And
here's the other thing. I know Sampson, I know Sharp hit a couple of shots. He hit that one big 3, that one deep 3. But I don't know how you felt watching the game. The only guy that I was legitimately pretty scared of from pulling up was Cryer.
100%.
The other guys, for the most part of the game, I was living with for the most part.
Yeah,
I was chilling with, like I was fine. The bigs for them offensively did a couple of nice things, but they got in foul trouble at the end, and that really hurt him. It was really Cryer that I wanted the ball to be anywhere but his hands, and I felt like Kelvin Sampson kind of did it for us. I don't know, weird kind of.
Yeah, I rewatched that Duke Houston first half. I watched the highlights of it. Cryer was like 5 for 8 from the field in the first half, and the rest of the team was 5 for 23. So it was like Cryer was the main dude that was the one that's getting it going. Is this right? So Cryer had 19, and everybody else for Houston was in single digits. 9, 8, 8, 6. So, yeah, I mean, sucks for them. I mean, I want to give it a Cryer, ISO, everybody do the Kobe, get out the way. Man, oh man. And Walter Clayton was the one that was, I mean, how fitting. He doesn't have the game he wants offensively. He's a man of the tournament, and he's the one that is pretty much would have had the block had my man shot it, but he didn't.
It is worth noting that Clayton balled his ass off defensively tonight.
Yeah.
He was really, really good defensively. Every guard he was on, it felt like was in jail.
Yeah. This was for as many points as we've seen in this tournament, like from Alabama and BYU, we've seen a little bit from Florida. This was like, talk about throwback. Like, go back 20 years before the one and done where dudes would just go down to the paint and just, I mean, how many dudes you just see on the ground at the end of possession, whistle or no whistle? You know, I was just about to look up something. It don't matter. But boy, it's 12:20, and Florida Gators are national champions.
And we got, look, it's a Monday night, man. It's Tuesday morning now, and we got tons of people staying on with us watching our show, man. That also feels kind of surreal that we got this many people watching us. I mean, we've had nonstop comments the whole show. We've been running for over 40 minutes now. I know I kind of gave the speech during football season, but still, like, everybody listening, like, we appreciate you guys. Like, Dylan and I wouldn't have a show without y'all, without this platform. So we obviously appreciate our HQ at 1010. But more importantly, everybody listening and everybody consuming our content, thank you so much for doing so. It's been a really, really fun season. We're obviously going to continue the show. We're going to celebrate this for a while, if I had to imagine, and let this content ride as long as we want, and then obviously get into spring ball and everything else. But man, what a fun season. Thank you for everybody that tunes in every week. Thank you, right? If it's your first time, if it's your 20th time, whatever, Dylan and I know I speak brothers when I say we really appreciate everybody tuning in. It's been awesome.
All right, can we agree on one thing before last thing here?
Yeah.
Florida's a blue blood basketball now.
Yeah.
Can we confirm that? Like, we've had as many Final Fours as a lot of these blue bloods. You've won 3 titles in the span of 21 years. You went to another title 25 years ago. Like, can that when people bring it up now, people are like, yeah, Florida's one of those. Florida's one of those teams now.
Yeah, I agree. It's because I think so. So I'm gonna go on I'm not normally like super like pro SEC guy all the time. I'm much more of I'm a Florida guy. I'm not an SEC guy. But anyways, in this specific case, and we talked about this a little bit earlier in the year when Florida was jockeying for the 1 seed and all that, I truly believe this in my heart of hearts, Dylan. For a long time, the SEC has had football. We know that. The SEC owns football, always will own football. I know there's some Big Ten schools that can do their thing, but football in the South is king, right? In college football, right? We know that. So between the Carolina schools, Kansas, Kentucky, and then besides them, it's like everything up north and whatever. These big national basketball people do not like accepting that a Southern football school can do just as well as they can do in hoops too. I think that's a fair thing to point out sometimes and to say. I think that when, Duke and Carolina people, and I've grown up loving Carolina, but I think this is a fact. I think Duke and Carolina people don't always like admitting that a football school and the Florida Gators just won the national title. Or, Villanova, Villanova's got, I think they have 3 titles total. The Florida Gators, they're a football school. Okay. 3 titles, baby. So yes, I would agree with you. That's kind of a long drawn out way to say, I think Florida is a blue blood. I think if Florida was in the Northeast, there'd be no resistance about that. I think if Florida didn't have any history or success in football, there wouldn't be a big issue about that. But people don't want to admit that a football school can do that kind of thing.
Yeah, Hack brought it up during the show Friday. Yeah, we didn't have a show today. And I looked up a list. This was from last summer. It was 247 Sports. So the top programs in college basketball since 2000. Or it might have been 97, one of the two. And they had Florida 12. They had Florida behind Texas and Ohio State. There was another.
If only Florida and Ohio State had played in a national championship to settle this.
Dude, the stupidest thing was it had like all the teams, a little paragraph of like what they've done the last 25, 27 years, and it said like Final Fours and titles. And it was like Florida had more than like all these schools that are right ahead of them. Like, can we see? Can we see what's going on here?
So that gets to my point, Dylan. If Florida didn't have 3 national titles in football, if they didn't have 3 statues outside Ben Hill Griffin Stadium to represent 3 Heisman Trophy winners, if they didn't have Tim Tebow, if they didn't have Steve Spurrier, if they didn't have the big figure that they do in football, people would be more willing to admit that.
Yeah.
But I think there's resistance to wanting to admit that there's a school that can do both. Right? And look, I'm going to say it because the University of Florida just won a freaking national championship. The University of Florida is the everything school. The University of Florida, that's the everything school. I don't care about the other schools. Don't try to tell me anybody else is the everything school. Who else has 3 in football, 3 in basketball?
And 1 in baseball and 2 in softball. They won the last 2 track titles.
Yeah, don't get me started. I mean, if we start bringing in track and softball, swimming, if we start bringing in Olympic sports, and softball's not, but you know what I mean. If we start bringing in Olympic sports and baseball, softball, all that, it's not even a fair fight.
No.
The University of Florida, if you're listening to this, understand the University of Florida is good at everything. That's right, baby.
Oh, is this true?
What?
Florida is the first team in the modern era to win a national title without a top 100 recruit on the roster?
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Who is this person? This is Isaac Trotter of CBS Sports 247. I mean, I guess most teams usually have a top recruit, you would assume. I was thinking as you were going on that rant about the Blue Bloods. Dude, we've been alive for 27 years. I've seen Florida win 2 titles. I didn't see the first one when they beat UCLA. I've seen Kentucky win 1. And that was when they had Anthony Davis.
That's crazy.
And all those teams they've had, all that NBA talent. Kentucky's had 1. Florida's had
3.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I watched. I was a little kid. I don't remember it that well, but I watched every dribble of the UCLA title, every last dribble.
Is there another SEC school that's won the last 20 years
in hoops?
South Carolina?
No, they didn't win a title.
Yeah, they didn't win it.
I believe it's just Kentucky and Florida.
Yeah. All right.
None of those Auburn teams have won one. None of these Bama teams with Nate Oates have won.
No.
I don't believe.
Not Georgia. Not Tennessee. Not Vandy. Anywho. All right.
Yeah, but Tennessee has all those Final Four. So, oh, wait. They've never been one. Sorry.
Yeah. So, all right, Graham. This was nice.
Hey, baby. There ain't no easy way out.
All right. Last question. This is a Dan Hickenpole question for the drill. Well, okay. I'll throw it to you, and then we'll sign off on this.
All right.
Most memorable Gator moment from this tournament. Beating UConn, the Elijah Martin dunk, the comeback of threes, to beat Tech, or the Cougars' final possession.
I think it's got to be the Texas Tech.
Yeah. I'd agree.
Because they should have lost that game.
They got outplayed 37 of the 40 minutes in that game.
They 4 threes.
4 consecutive threes.
That's that's got to be. It's the Texas Tech comeback. It has to be.
Yeah. Well, that's leading the poll. We'll keep you updated as the drill goes on from 6 to 10 a.m. God, I mean, Dan Hicken didn't have a voice this morning. How is he going to even talk in a couple hours? You know that man has no
everything he's got.
Yeah. Good luck to him.
I have a bone to pick with Dan tomorrow.
About Mike White.
Dan looked at me in the face a couple of years ago and said, Florida will never win another national championship in basketball.
I was kind of I was not of the boat that they weren't going to win a national title, but I was of the boat that, like, what is Florida basketball? Like, they were great under Billy Donovan, great coach, but Florida's just an okay basketball school that occasionally will make a Final Four here and there. That was my opinion. And now we've seen Todd Golden do what he's done. And damn, dude, when you have this taste of success you just it's like a drug, man, and you just want to keep it going. I mean, the question is, if he keeps the same success, is he even going to be able to stay at Florida? So one of these NBA teams might snag him up, but that's a conversation for a different day.
The NBA would be the fear, but I don't think I don't believe, to your point, I think Florida, I don't know if there's a school that can hire Todd away from Florida.
No.
So,
not in college, no. So, all right. We appreciate all of you.
National champs, baby. Da-na-na-na-na. Go Gators. Da-na-na-na-na. Go Gators. Da-na-na-na-na. Go Gators. Come on, Gators. Get up and go. Let's go, man.
I can only imagine what you were like when you were watching this game, man. I can only imagine.
I was on one the whole game. The Auburn game, too.
Honestly, Auburn game, I was pretty crunk by myself. This game, I was pretty quiet. I did a lot of these, like Will Richard on that turnover. I did just by myself. I swear to you. But nah, fam. It's this way. This way. Oh man. And then I did, those when you're playing the video game, the little picture where the dude's got a controller and that's like, all right, it's time to get serious, and the dude like sits up. That was me on that final possession when Houston had the ball. I was laid back on the couch, slumped over the whole time, and then that final possession, I got up at the end. I was like, all right. Oh my God, we won. All right, Graham. This was fun. We appreciate everybody. I'm gonna go to sleep, and we got work in the morning. So
yes, sir. Go Gators, baby.
Go Gators. 2025 national champions.